Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor to the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. This is not, brothers and sisters, going to be long, at least not intentionally to be long. Understand, or should I say, I understand that it is late hours, and I usually don't tag people in this particular time, and so forth and so on. I call this one here "The Haters Exist." And what do I mean by that, brothers and sisters? In the Torah, it tells us, brothers and sisters, that you should not hate your brother in your heart. You shall surely rebuke your neighbor and not be a sin upon the matter. Do you know why it would say that? It's because it's from the heart, in this case, meaning your lab or your mind, that ruach or that spirit comes from. The spirit of hating, if you will. And in modern times, you had it to where people were saying such and such is a hater, and so forth and so on. And how that is determined is by the deeds or the actions of one. Let me give an example from personal experiences of what I'm talking about. I remember doing a Hebrew presentation, and I'm not going to name names, but it is what it is. And this is like over 6 or so years ago. And I was doing a Hebrew presentation. And while I'm doing the presentation, I get a phone call again and again and again and again and again by somebody. So when the presentation is over, I get to call the person back and said, "What's going on? How's everything?" Because I didn't get a text message. I didn't get a voicemail. What I come to find out was the person was intending to interrupt the presentation that was going on. See, that's a hating spirit. That's a spirit that when I did finally speak to the person's Hebrew was off about how words are spelled. So that means that hating spirit coming from your mind and your heart, it blocks your knowledge, it blocks your wisdom, it blocks your understanding. And brothers and sisters, what it also does is it causes you to not be able to progress in your own endeavors because one is so focused on trying to hinder somebody else, or in other terms, being a hater to somebody else. One of the things I've come to understand is that productivity will make a naysayer become quiet. When people, as the saying goes, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. When you have too much time on your hands and you're not using your time productively, it causes things to go awry. I'm not perfect. I remember I called myself saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to call myself doing a robbery. Not that I'm confessing to a crime because it never did happen, you know, but that was only because I didn't have like income coming in. So that's where my mind was at that particular time, some years ago. So I don't come online or present myself as if one is holier than thou or better than thou or anything of that sort. But the haters do exist. And what happens in a nutshell is the Most High will let you know that only He is the one that will be guiding you in your mission. Sometimes the Most High will remove a person from you in order to bring you to something else. And so we don't want to be like in Proverbs 7 when it says, one who runs as the fool to the correction of stocks. You understand? In other words, if a person does not support, does not encourage, does not cause one to want to blossom, if you will, whatever the subject matter is, that person need not be around. It is not on accident that people don't support. That's not an accident because just as much as when I left from the job earlier, right? And I bought this, I made sure I sought what I wanted. I looked for what I wanted and then I purchased it. So, and I will tell other people, like, this tastes good. So not only did I look for it, buy it, I will sit there and recommend it to somebody else. When you are doing a presentation or you are doing something that is for edification purposes, and they who see it going on do not encourage and support it, it's not an accident that they're not supporting it. And this is why, when, for instance, David had problems in the house of Israel, David went to live with the Philistines. You understand? And this is even after the matter with David and Goliath. So, what am I saying that matter for regarding David? I said it before in regards to showing that David dwelt among Africans and didn't feel away. But in this particular case, I am presenting it as saying, when you can't change your people, change your people. You understand? I remember being asked in another case, will help us with our newspaper. And so, not to be disrespectful, but as I pointed out on the channel in the past, when a brother gets into something, a brother gives 110 as much as possible. Not if and any, not wish-washy, not I'm going to be asked to do a presentation or a Hebrew class and I'll show up late and I miss it and I'm the instructor and I miss it again. And then I have the spirit say that Reuben had, oh, I'm going to sit there and protect my brother. Then I walk away, unstable as water. That's not the spirit to have when you are about having to get something done and you have a responsibility, brothers and sisters. So, whatever one is into, it is important to give 110% about it. And what I found out, as I heard in high school, the people who were cutting classes, you're going to see them exactly where they are X amount of years later, providing he or she does not change. When I look at the people I knew from high school, me now being, thank the creator, being 40 years old now, when I look at some of my other Facebook page and I see some of the situations of those I knew from high school, I'm like, wow, that's deep. Some people did change for the better. Some people did not change for the better. But as we already know within the scriptures in Ezekiel 18, it says if a man sees his wrong and changes from it, you don't bring it back up. So everybody can change. But when you know yourself as an Israelite, when you know the Lord's statutes and commandments of the Most High God, and you cannot, as a man, as a brother, as an elder, amazing, rebuke your neighbor and not bear sin upon him, meaning upon it, as we read in Leviticus 19. Not everyone then is qualified to be a teacher. If your character is not allowing you to sit there and see your fault in self and say, let me change from that, what you're doing is playing church on Saturday while you're calling it the Knesset or the Machane or the camp on the Shabbat. Because in church/Christianity, you don't have to sit there and think about that heavy about repentance of self to your brother, to your sister, to a youngster, to an elder. It is what it is. That kind of spirit. What the commandments teach us: you shall not covet anything that is your neighbor's. What is the commandments telling us? And two, with that, is get your own stuff. I learned that being coming a DJ. I remember having like the cassette tapes, and I wasn't doing covetousness, but I remember asking people like, yeah, I would like to get it converted from this cassette tape to a CD, and they would charge me $75 or so for a conversion from a cassette to a CD. But once a brother got his own CD recorder, things changed. Point is this: when the commandments teaches us, you shall not covet anything that is your neighbor's. That tells us, brothers and sisters, to have your own. Have your own mind. If you are wise, you are wise for yourself, says Proverbs. Don't allow people to say, forget everything you know and relearn. That's foolishness because what you have learned brought you to the point to even learn more. So why would you need to forget what brought you to where you are as opposed to taking it and building upon it? It's for control purposes. There are brothers and sisters manipulators in this earth. In the Bible, in Ezekiel 22, it says they were talebearers in Israel to shed blood. Oh, did you hear this? Oh, did you hear that? Well, don't tell him or her, I said this about him or her. That's not the culture of Israel. The Muslims, and correct me if I'm wrong, in what they call the Nation of Islam or the Fruit of Islam, if a brother talks to another brother about a brother, they say, hold on, stop. Bring that brother here so we can sit there and get to the bottom of the matter. Israel needs to step up in that particular matter. We might want to learn from that because obviously reading the Torah didn't seep into the mind in many, many cases because it tells you, and this is part of what I wanted to present, where it says, you shall surely rebuke your neighbor. Now, there is a rebuke that is comely. There is a rebuke that is timely, but not being too personal, but talking about self in this regard. When a brother has written books with his email in it, telephone number, WhatsApp, Messenger, a brother doesn't leave himself cut off from communication. So it doesn't make any sense to talk about a person who leaves his connection and conversation open. That, brothers and sisters, without using profanity, is what the Bible talks about in the book of Proverbs. It says about the man that scrapes with his feet and points with his fingers. He doesn't greet the brother as a brother. He points this one, that one, this one, that one. And scrapes with his feet, as it says in Proverbs 6, as opposed to picking your feet up as a man and talking to a brother as a man. That is what the Most High is talking about. In the Bible, I believe it's in the book of Micah. Yes, it is. The Most High said to Israel, the Israelites, testify against me, O Israel, where I have wronged you. I, Yah, have set before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. So we can't say that the Most High don't use and pick women for a mission, because Micah distinctly says that the Most High set up Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. And in that portion in the book of Micah, the Most High said, testify against me. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, the Most High said, let us reason together. And this is the creator of heaven and earth, the giver and taker of life, who is saying through his prophets to testify against him if there was iniquity in him, and for Yisrael, his people, brothers and sisters, as it says in there, to reason with him. If the Most High is saying that, why is it Israel has a problem addressing one another? Why does it have to be, I heard to the grapevine, and then you see why, as it's called, the great book, the good book, calls us the children of Israel. Us, not him or her, but us. Because the movements, if you have any children or been around them or remember your own childhood, is, I want to tell you something, but I can't sit there and have that person know. That's not showing love. Showing love will be rebuking your brother or sister to his or her face, or on the phone, or on today's standard messenger, or on a hangout one-on-one. It shouldn't have to be a thing where somebody has to smoke out a matter in order to sit there and get the response about what was said of him or her. That is ridiculous in the house of Israel. This is what, sadly, Israel has become. So now, brothers and sisters, when this kind of matter is brought up, this is what I've come to find out. Everything's good, brother. Everything's good, brother. He or she didn't recognize that you found out or heard something that was said. So you confront him or her about it. And instead of saying, yes, I said it, or no, I did not, and bring up the person who accused me of saying it, they start to, in layman terms, brown nose. They start to kowtow because they never expected. similar to the spirit of the Caucasian and the black man. Don't tell those niggers who they truly are. So how do we think as Israel? If they who control information in America, like the Caucasian does, with the publications of books and who can write a book and blacklist the book and what is said online and putting you on your channel on arrest for a certain amount of time or whatever that is. The Caucasian controls the social media aspect. And the Most High still had his people know who he is and who we are. They never intended for that to happen. So my question then is, how do we as Israelites expect to slander, disrespect, lie, be a false witness against one another, and not expect the Most High to bring it to that brother or sister? The Jewish man couldn't keep his lie going on forever about who the true Jews are, but we come to this understanding and think the Most High goes to sleep. No, we have insulted our own intelligence. Psalms 94 in the Bible is where it says, shall he who made the eye not see? Not adding to the word, but can we say, shall he who created the ear not hear? He who created the mouth, let not one know. Brothers and sisters, throughout the scriptures, it distinctly says, for instance, in the case with Jacob and Esau, it says, and Rebekah heard what Esau plotted. How did Rebekah know what Esau plotted against Jacob is Yah? In the Willie Lynch letter about how to make a slave, he talked about, in the end of it, this great phenomena that will cause the Negro, the true Israelite, okay, to sit there and reverse the Willie Lynch matter among our people. Willie Lynch, in that, be it a real person or be it just a philosophy, that great phenomena that will sit there and change is in no doubt the said black man. God, that is. The black man's God, being the Most High. See, as pointed out, and not to be redundant, the nations never expected the Negro, the African American, the Afro-Brazilian, the West Indian to wake up to understand who he was and who he is and where his roots come from. That truth is started to become suppressed by first calling his book the Old Testament. So I ask again, not to be redundant, brothers and sisters, if the Most High woke up some of our parents and the slander, niggas ain't, you know what, the lie, you're truly African, you're not really Hebrew, the disrespect, telling like the serpent did, going to the woman and not to the man. The Most High raveled all of that and broke that yoke off of our neck for us to know who he is and who we are. You cannot expect the God who woke our people up to this great truth to then sleep on your own slander and wickedness and your tale-bearing and lies and slander and so forth and so on. The nations couldn't get away with it. And we know Israel, we know our book, Israel have I known of all the nations of the earth. Therefore, I'll visit you upon all your iniquities. Israel has a special relation with the Most High. And the Most High said in Exodus, brothers and sisters, you shall be holy men unto me. See, you don't wait till Shabbat become holy. The Shabbat itself is holy. But we, Israel, was already supposed to be holy, according to Exodus, according to Leviticus 19 as well. So we have to stop doing the church thing in the house of Israel. And what I mean by that is don't slander or intended disrespect to those who are, say, within the religious confines of Christianity. I'm talking to the house of Israel in this particular case. We have been not doing and stepping up to our responsibility. Brothers and sisters, When we talk about supporting, quote, black businesses, but yet it is difficult to even get a response when you want to support somebody else's business. That's a problem. We have not grasped that concept. We're used to that job. We're used to, I'll see you on Shabbat. And now, being raised in this, going on 38 years, from the age of 2 now to the age of 40, the Israelites I heard about back in the 70s and the things that they had, I don't remember seeing that in the 80s and the 90s. Your own school, your own residential places, restaurants. I didn't remember seeing that really growing up. It was, we go to the camp on Shabbat, so-called Saturday, go back home, get your schoolwork done. Remember, no, Christopher Columbus did not discover something. Remember what the Moray said in the congregation, but you just tell the Caucasian teacher what you have to tell them. That's what I remember being brought up in the 80s in Israel. And so, brothers and sisters, the hate is going to exist. The Most High has haters, as it says in Exodus 20, to all those that hate me, speaking of the Most High, and him saying it. Listen, I to my haters. Same premise when you go in the book of Psalms, chapter 81, when it speaks about the haters of the Most High shall dwindle. Brothers and sisters, when you go in Isaiah, the 51st chapter, it says, fret not of the taunts or the revilings of men, for the moth shall eat them up like a garment. So truth is verifiable. All you got to do is just sit back and wait if you got the patience for it. What you can do too is find out what the truth of a matter is by addressing it as a brother, as a man. Brothers and sisters, I have a daughter. I'm 26 years older than my daughter. Anytime a person has 20 plus or so years over another, and you're going to sit there and slander somebody that is young enough to be your child, is as silly as me slandering my own daughter who's 14. It is the duty of the elders, as it says, to be like the watchman, hazofet in the Hebrew, at the gates. Proverbs 31 speaks of the husband of the virtuous woman who's known by sitting with the elders of the city. When the elders of a community, brothers and sisters, do not do those kind of things, brothers and sisters, that is horrible. And that does sadly happen in Israel. That does sadly take place in Israel. There's an R&B song, I forgot who sings it, but the chorus essentially is like saying, dust that off your shoulder and make your move again. So that's the genre of the whole thing. Pick yourself up and move on again, or something of that kind of nature, right? When Israel has to dust themselves off of one another, we are not doing what the prophets told us. The prophets told us, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. So anyone, be you old, like the two wicked elders and the Apocrypha. If I remember right, that's the story of Susanna, when they lied on somebody, and so forth and so on. And then they had to sit there and investigate. Like the Torah tells you, brothers and sisters, you shall diligently inquire. You know when somebody is full of it, and we're going to keep the language clean, but you know when somebody is full of it is when they don't want you to investigate. They don't want to be asked about a matter. Well, let's not talk about that. Well, that was back then. Who says that? Who says let's not bring up the past? Who says let's not talk about it? I'm asking the black man this. You know who does that? The white man. because he doesn't want to talk about the past of slavery. He doesn't want to talk about his own wickedness that he did. Israelites has also sadly followed the pattern of the white man. And that, well, we ain't going to talk about that. We're going to move on like nothing happened. That's how the European move with the Negro. So what about slavery? Everybody's been through stuff. So forget yours and your dilemma, because other people got it too. You don't say that in Israel to Israel. Then we wonder why, brothers and sisters, they who are about that work and putting that work in, whatever that work is, they go away. They leave. They don't stay around. Brothers and sisters, you can't, as it says in the book of Deuteronomy, you are not supposed to oppress your people. That is a very broad matter. That goes into the mind, the spirit, the character. When you are at a job, like many of us do have, and at a job, you got to be discreet. You can't talk about certain things on the job, right? But with Israel, you don't even sit there and care to talk. That's a problem. When your sodomite manager gets more respect from you at that job than you give to your brother or sister in Israel, you equate it like that of that sodomite. Maybe that's your spirit. Maybe his faggoty mood rocks with you more than the brotherly mood within the house of Israel. When that adulterous woman at the job who is sleeping around on the job and disrespecting her marriage, which goes on in many of these kind of jobs, when that kind of spirit rubs off more on you, female in Israel, but you can't speak to your brothers and sisters, and your attitude is stink, and we don't think the Most High see that. We believe, brothers and sisters, that it's about us and only us. We have convinced ourselves that we may not be part of that remnant. I have heard Israelites say they are a part of the remnant. I've heard Israelites say that they are part of the remnant and others are not. You are out of your mind. Who told you that you was part of the remnant that Isaiah chapter 10 talks about? Because it says the determination is overflowing with righteousness. But if you can't do a simple thing like Leviticus and speak to your brother in rebuke and love, how can you say you're part of the remnant? Be it in English or Hebrew, it distinctly says, Hokiak, Tokiak, et Akika. You shall diligently, that's why it says a double, if you was listening to the verbs. Hokiak, Tokiak. The Hokiak in the beginning, brothers and sisters, means it's being something that's emphasized. That shows character. I slandered a brother in Israel before, for those who do know, and thousands of people saw it on YouTube. This is back in 2016. I apologized to the brother I slandered online. And then I went online and I apologized. Why? Because when you realize that you know what upped, when you realize that you did some shadiness in Israel, because none of us are perfect, it is incumbent upon you in Israel to sit there and say to your brother, my bad, my brother. I should have not done it like that. And because you slandered, and I'm speaking when I say you, I'm mainly talking about myself in this case. When I slandered the brother online, it was only in Just Weight and Balances. You apologize online. You don't slander your brother and thousands of people see it, and then you go behind the closed door, well, I apologize for what I did. That's not an apology. That's foolishness. You can't slander somebody in public, online or offline, in public, and then go behind in private and then say, my apologies. Because see, what the Most High deals with is what in so many words in the Bible, it's either in Isaiah or in Ezekiel. It says, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. The Jerusalem that is talking about is the people. You understand? What does it say? Cause them to know their abominations. Don't sit there and have them, I don't know what's going on. That the most I don't want, as it says in Ecclesiastes, I believe it's Ecclesiastes in the Bible, not the Apocrypha, yes, in the Bible. It says God hates fools. So, brothers and sisters, in light of that particular case, how in the world can we do foolishness and think the Most High is going to love us? See, that right there, I remember apologizing after slandering the brother online. And I told the brother, for those who do know, people inboxed me on Facebook about it or contacted me or texted me, which is a form of communication, and was like, well, that took, that's like real man stuff. Real man stuff to sit there and do that. Everybody, not to sound arrogant or funny, everybody ain't built like that, man. Everybody don't have the mindset to say, if I did something wrong and slandering a man or a sister, I'm going to apologize in the same spirit with just weights and balances. I remember of a couple and the husband disrespected the wife in front of the children. This man apologized to his wife in front of the children. The children needed to see, after the disrespect was done to their mother, a just weight and balance of what was going to go on. Not they went in the bedroom and had pillow talk. Well, baby, I ain't really mean that. You know what I'm saying? It's what it is. I lost my temper. I didn't really mean to say that. You know how I really feel about you. No, 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 no. And if they did do pillow talk, I definitely wasn't around. But what I do know is that those children will always remember that their dad apologized in front of their eyes to their mother. Everybody ain't built like that. Like I stated, no one is perfect. I stated in the beginning of this about the evil inclination of the mind. I remember one time I was going to try to, not because I'm not confessing to a crime because I didn't do it. I was going to and strategize. I was going to strategize doing a robbery. Yeah, me. I was thinking about that. It was like, yo, get that thought out your mind. That's not your spirit. That's not where you need to be. That's not the path you need to go on. You understand? Don't you know, brothers and sisters, that when I did slander a brother in the house of Israel back in 2016, I could not show my face to that man and call that man on the phone without giving an apology? I could not sit there and talk to the brother without confessing the way in which I handled the matter. It distinctly speaks about, you shall surely rebuke your neighbor. I didn't follow that path that way. Instead, I went to online and just did that. See, anything at this point now, getting older, that I'm talking about is things that I address to people already. I know people out there said regarding my books that I wrote, oh, he's trying to make a name for himself. No, I put the names of my teachers in the book. I put the names of my dead mother and my dead father in the book. And on top of that, I put the name of Yah in the book, in the books that I write. So I'm not trying, having written X amount of books, to get a name for myself, as some people have stated. But of course, when asking those people, well, brother or sister, why would you say that about me, knowing me for X amount of years, that you think I'm trying to get a name for myself? Huh? It's like now, it's as if you got food stuck in your mouth and you're trying to talk because you didn't expect, brothers and sisters, somebody to sit there and address that particular matter. And so now, in closing out this particular speech, if we will, the haters exist. Productivity makes the naysayer become quiet. When a person has not reached his or her potential, don't let them rent space in your head. Don't sit there and sweat that kind of matter. You let that person know and confront and respect him or her, and let them know that you know what was said or what was done, or so forth and so on. And maybe you can see if their name was brought up in a lie. But just like the white man don't want to talk about slavery, just like the white man don't want to sit there and talk about his past deeds, the white man don't want to talk about what happened with COINTELPRO. You don't want to talk about the Atlantic slave trade. You don't want to talk about the Tuskegee experiment. You don't want to sit there and talk about the hundreds of thousands that was dumped over into the Atlantic Ocean. You don't want to talk about the thousands that was lynched in the United States. You don't want to talk about the 46 presidents of the United States, 12 of them being slave owners. So Israel have done wickedness to one another and then don't want to sit there and talk about it. So what we do is we expect and we wait on the Most High, when the Most High has given us that power already. Two, as it says in Leviticus 19, you shall judge righteously with your neighbor. Yehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahuwah. However you understand the pronunciation of the holy name, until he lets us know its true pronunciation. He who was, he who will be, already gave us the command and the authority to judge righteously one with another. But you're not judging righteously one with another when you don't tell him I said this. Oh man, don't tell him I said that. That's how the Nakash came to Eve. The Nakash didn't come to the man, came to Eve. Now, no knock on Eve. You understand? Because the man fell as well in that. If you know the story in that. The Nakash did not tell Eve to go to Adam. The Nakash would have been okay in Genesis if that secret been just between him and Eve. The Nakash spirit will go to a married woman and talk about a matter without addressing her husband. That is wickedness. And you got Israelites who do the same thing, brothers and sisters, which is not good. Martin Luther King talked about the content of character. The Most High, through the prophet Jeremiah, it distinctly said, "For among my people are found wicked men." In Jeremiah, it says, "Behold, they set a trap to catch men, as a cage is full of birds. So is the house of Israel filled with deceit." That's in the Bible. It gets on our case. It doesn't give you a romanticized religious side, if that's a word, as religious side. Everything is perfect. Amen. Everything is perfect. No, everything ain't perfect, brothers and sisters. In the scriptures in the book of Hosea, it says, Israel, don't we, it's either in Hosea or in Amos, sorry. Don't rejoice like the nations, because you're about to go into something that the world has not seen, O house of Israel. What does it say in Hosea chapter 4, verse 8? They eat at the sin of my people and set their heart on their iniquity. They are the nations in that case. Hosea 4, verse 8. They eat at our sin. When we don't do right by each other, that's how the nations prosper. Don't you know every time somebody talks about a crime that a white cop does with a brother, you know what it said? Black guys kill black guys. They got to try to reverse it back. Israel's done the same thing. Instead of standing your ground and acknowledging you're wrong, let's wiggle like the Nakash and move like the serpent. And on Shabbat, say, Amen, hallelujah. Stop it, brothers and sisters. In the Bible, and like I'm saying, none of us are perfect. David, before Samuel anointed him, Samuel was told when he saw David's brothers by the Most High, man looks on the outer countenance, but the Most High looks on the inner countenance of a man. So now when you go into, brothers and sisters, what happened with David and Goliath after that, them same brothers were saying, "Oh, David, get up out of here. You just come to see the war." That is what the Most High saw. The Most High saw David's brothers not want to go up against Goliath in the future. David had that heart to go up against that beast, to go up against Goliath. See, David got a name when he went up against Goliath. Jeroboam and Rehoboam later, you get a bad name going against Israel, Judah, Judah versus Israel. It tells you that Ephraim shall not vex Judah, nor Judah vex Ephraim in the book of Isaiah in the future. So that concept of Israel being against Israel, that ain't never prosper. The Assyrian king, Tiglath-Pileser, in his record, he spoke and said, they, Israel, killed their king and then put another one over there. There's an Assyrian record from Tiglath-Pileser that spoke about King Pekah and the assassination that we read of in the scriptures. They eat at the sin of our people when we don't do right by each other. When the brothers don't do right by the sisters don't do right by the brothers, and let's drop it. The elders have not done right by the youth. In Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, about worshiping Molech, the Most High said that you have given my sons and my daughters to Molech. We are the children of the Most High. When you disrespect, regardless of one's age, you are disrespecting a child, a son or daughter of the Most High. For people who have children, and this is something that, like I saw, like on a meme or whatever on Facebook, right? One of those Kermit the Frog things, and it has Kermit sitting there. And Kermit says, while the children are yelling upstairs and everything like that, Kermit in the meme is with his belt and says, I'm just waiting for one child to cry so I can go upstairs and beat everybody's, you know what. Brothers and sisters, not saying that the Most High is to be equated to a meme, but what has happened with his children? I'm asking the people who have children and who don't understand maybe the position of being a parent to talk about somebody else's child or so forth and so on. When your children don't get along, you put them in a corner. You go here, go in a corner until you learn to get along one with another. Well, is that not in light what the Most High did with Israel? He scattered Israel to the four corners of the earth. That's what a parent, a father, is doing with his children when the children don't understand and get along. If you can't get along, you all are going to separate. I will scatter Israel from one end of the earth to the other. And you will wake up saying, hey, I'm a Jamaican. Hey, I'm an African, naming yourself after a continent. Hey, I'm a Trinidadian, naming yourself after the Spanish word for Trinity. Hey, I'm Bajan from Barbados, which is the Portuguese word for beard. Hey, I'm an American, named after Americo Vespucci, who was a slave master. That's what happened to the people of the Most High when the Most High put that blinder on them because Israel didn't know how to get along one with another. So now that we have come to this great truth and we continue in that same wickedness, what do you think is going to happen? One generation to the next, take them out like in the wilderness and let the children grow up. And then let them get what we despise, the promises from the Most High. Shalom. Good night.